is money for you a mystery?
Quite.
Yeah.
So, yes. I've been asked a lot, right? Like, why that question? Why did you name the podcast that? What is it about, that question that's called you, as you're saying?
Yeah.
I first have to give credit to the book, which I think is on the shelf behind me here, Creature from Jekyll Island.
Creature from Jekyll Island. Yeah, I've heard you quote that book a lot.
Yeah, so I read this book when I was 20 years old. Huh. It's about the inception of the Federal Reserve. It's got a history of central banking. It does. I think there's actually, I read it when I was 20, but I listened to it recently, probably 2 years ago. There's a subchapter in that book titled "What is Money?" Right? He actually goes into the ontology or the nature of money. Yeah. And so maybe that planted a seed. I've got to give credit where credit's due. I didn't consciously use that as the name of the podcast, but it definitely left a very significant mark on me.
Yeah.
And when I reached the conclusion of that book, I guess my realization was that central banking was the biggest meta problem in the world. You might say I didn't have this language at the time, but now, drawing on a lot of conversations you guys have on this little corner of the internet, as you'd like to call it, it's the problem that's upstream from the most problems. Huh. So, money printing is used to fund things like, propaganda, warfare, et cetera, which we go into a lot.
Yeah.
So there's that avenue on it. Yeah. There's also this thing, and I guess I don't know if this is an intuition or what. I used to say to my friends in college, I thought reality was like liquid, basically, that everything is interfacing with everything else and everything affects everything else. As above, so below. More recently, I would say it has something like a language-like structure, which is kind of like the logos, perhaps.
Yeah.
The logos is obviously, I've only in the past few years started to develop conception and language around that, but the idea of what does Vervaeke always say, right? That you can only ever see one side of the phone, right?
Yeah.
You can only see half the aspects, I guess you might say. Yeah. But what is it that interconnects the aspects into one structural whole? Yeah. Right? That is the through line that interconnects all the aspects, is the logos of the phone.
Which paradoxically isn't ever one of the sides.
Yes.
It's the thing that withdraws yet somehow accounts for and shows at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's properties, physical properties, squareness, hardness, whatever, shininess to the phone, but it's not a property. The logos is not a property of the phone, but it's that which connects all the properties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be another way to say it. Again, this is a domain that's a bit mysterious.
Yeah.
I think that money is somehow related to the logos. Money is often defined as the language of value or the language of human action.
Yeah.
Some even call it the language of power.
Yeah.
It does have this communicative function, right? It generates price signals. This is what coordinates entrepreneurial activity at scale. It's a very efficient data compression technology. So people can just see a price change. They don't need to know any of the story, right? They don't need to know that there was a fire here, an earthquake there. They just need to see the price change.
Yeah.
And as a producer, you're incentivized to produce more. As a consumer, you're incentivized to produce less. Consume less. And so that's how we self-organize in the marketplace, is basically using the medium of money as a language.
Yeah.
It also has, again, to use a Vervaeke term, it's a bit psychotechnological.
Yeah.
Right? We think in terms of money, we negotiate in terms of money, we look through money, we're engaging in business planning, all of these things. So I think I'm comfortable saying money does have some linguistic qualities to it.
Yeah.
And then
again, as you're talking, you're basically kind of, as I just realized, it's like, as you're talking about money, you're basically showing all the aspects, like you were the phone, like all the different aspects. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But this is just kind of one aspect, right? That's just under one definition, right? Money is the language of value. You could go into all these ways in which it is like natural language.
Totally. Yeah. So it's got a linguistic aspect to it.
But it's also because mathematics is a language too.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Not just natural language. We
Yeah.
also have mathematics.
the mathematical aspect. Yeah.
So natural language, I think, is mostly used to communicate our subjective experiences.
yeah.
Right. We're interconnecting our minds and sharing
Yeah.
conceptual landscapes with one another
Yeah.
using natural language,
Yeah.
spoken language,
Yeah.
verbal language, right?
Yeah.
English, what we're doing right now.
The thing we're doing right
Yes.
now. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's an open source software we're using to share subjective experiences, let's say.
yeah.
I think mathematics is something, it's a different form of language
Yeah.
that we use to communicate about objective experiences.
Right.
Not even, I don't know if experience is the right word, but mathematics obviously has a very
Yeah.
tight grip on the universe, right?
Yeah.
It's the language of engineering, accounting,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yeah.
And then money is somehow somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It has this betweenness to it. A term I've discovered recently by
Yeah.
listening to you guys is the metaxu.
Yeah. The
right?
metaxu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's always something intercategorical. There's always
Yeah.
something between.
By the way, have you listened to the Desmond interviews I've done? Because he's the one that brought that term in. Yeah. Okay. So
No, I need to listen to that though.
yeah. Yeah. He's awesome. Irish philosopher.
But it's that, I mean, that's a good term. Like, I'm glad there's a term
metaxu.
for it because I've always just said like the betweenness. You know, Vervaeke uses transjective,
Yeah.
right? It's neither objective nor subjective. It's
Yeah.
transjective. You
Yeah.
know, he often uses the example of adaptivity.
Yeah.
Is the adaptivity in the great white shark?
Yeah.
Like, well, no, because if you throw it in the desert, well, it's not fit to that environment and it will die.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, well, so is the adaptivity in the ocean? Is it in the
Yeah.
environment?
Yeah.
Well, no, because, you know, you put a camel in the ocean and it's not fit to the environment, it's going to die, right? It's adaptivity itself is transjective. It's a
Right.
real fitness relationship between the shark
Yeah.
and the ocean.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be the most fundamental descriptor of how reality works, that things are in real fitness relationships. Affordances is the term Gibson used in his book, An Ecological Approach to Visual Perception. Again, a lot of this thinking is just listening to you guys, and then you reference a book, and then I go read the book, and then it gets into these things. So I'm very grateful to like intuitions that I've had for a long time. There are other people that have, I guess, had similar intuitions and developed language around it.
Right. Right.
But you find it, I find it funny in a way that asking a question like, what is money? And you end up reading a book like that, An Ecological Approach to Visual Perception. Like, how does that have any relationship to finance? Often when I tell people the title of the podcast, they're like, oh, so it's a finance podcast. I'm like, actually, that's the only thing we don't talk about.
Yeah.
Well, almost the only thing we don't talk about is finance. You know, we don't talk about, investments and how to structure your portfolio and whatnot. We talk about the nature and history of money.
Yeah.
But it's more of this philosophically tantalizing question to go into these deeper domains and really try to understand how the world works.
Yeah. It seems something like the way, I think it was Aquinas who said, he talked about time. He's like, as long as you don't ask me, I know exactly what time is.
Yes, exactly.
Right. But the moment you ask me, what is time? I'm just utterly perplexed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's something like that about money as well.
Well, time is money.
Yeah. Time is money.
Time is money.
Another
and by the way,
aspect.
how do we metaphorize our experience of time?
Yeah.
Well, how did you spend your day?
Yeah.
Invest your time wisely.
Yeah.
Totally. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
So we're metaphorizing. We're using the embodied experience of transacting in money to describe the abstract experience of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's very interesting to me too. It's not just, it's not just, I don't know. Well, you brought up mystery, right? What is the most mysterious thing in the universe is time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And money is deeply related to it.
Yeah.
And money is also, again, the medium through which we are trading our time with one another.
Yeah.
In a way that's maximally productive. Right?
Yeah.
The price signals are telling us this is what consumers actually want. These are the supplies of capital that are actually available.
Yeah.
And that's very meaningful, right? I don't think we give it enough appreciation.
Right.
We appreciate natural language, we appreciate mathematics.
Totally.
But even in, Plato and Neoplatonism, Vervaeke said this once. I don't know if it's Plato or someone else, but it's just filthy lucre. money is like, it's just this gross kind of thing that we use. But it's like, they just didn't have an appreciation for Austrian economics, Mises.
Yeah.
The concept of self-organization, right? That's afforded by money. Money is actually one of these critical linguistic or logos-like technologies, like natural language, like mathematics. So
on one level, we're talking about like when people talk about money, they usually talk about like it's really concrete. I don't have $550 in the bank. I have $554.72. There's something very realistic about money in that sense, right?
Precise, like mathematics.
Like there's a mathematical sense. So usually I would say when most people like objectively think about money, they think about it like the mathematical side or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. But what you seem to be opening up with the question, like the ontology of money. What is money as such? And what I'm hearing is that it does have this reality aspect to it.
Yeah.
In fact, isn't that in gist what Bitcoin did? Is in some sense it actually restored reality, like in the sense of that, you have whatever number of Bitcoins and you will always have that number of Bitcoins, right? There's something that doesn't change. It's like a law of physics there. Thus, it can't ever, and the way that it's set up in the network, it can't ever be corrupted, right? Which is not the case with fiat currency and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of like, it seems like there's something like, that sense of reality, right? Of that there's something that like our maps or ways of thinking of it doesn't touch, right?
Yeah.
It's actual territory, right?
Well, you're jumping ahead of me now. That's exactly where I was going to go. The map and the territory.
Yeah.
I forgot the philosopher, his name, but famously said the map is not the territory.
Yeah. It's just really quick. Is the kind of the point I wanted to bring up to have you elucidate. That being said, like you start going into that and now you're into like personal growth things. You're into like, you're reading all these, philosophers, you're talking to all these people about, like meaning for Vakey. Now you're talking to me, this guy, the circling guy, relationship kind of guy, right? Like, and it seems like that seems part of the phenomena of money somehow. Like all that is connected, yet there's this kind of territorial part of it, this reality, but yet there's all these other points of reality that aren't as mathematical or like that.
Yeah. Well,
it's a true mystery.
I'm going to try to answer what I think you're asking, but let me know if I'm going the right direction.
I don't even know what the question was. I appreciate you trying to hear a question out of that.
No, the quote and I think this is one of the most important. Well, I'll just share all three of them, I guess. I think three quotes that I always come back to. I think there's some of the most important philosophical quotes.
Yeah.
First one's Tesla, right? If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, learn to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah. So reality is energy, it's musical, it's interconnected, it's relational, there's always betweenness, right? We often think our words are reality, but they're just maps.
Yeah.
Or the irreducibly complex territory, which brings me to the second quote, the map is not the territory.
Yeah.
There's always a delta between reality and representation.
Yep.
And when we don't appreciate that, we become vulnerable to very serious errors.
Yeah.
Up to and including totalitarianism. Like when you
ideologies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you think that, Vervaeke says this, right? When you think you can collapse the totality of reality to a set of propositions between your ears, like you've ignored all the other centers of knowing.
Yeah.
You also are in this position where you think, oh, you're an actual know-it-all, right? Like we've actually, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. That's all we need to do, and we'll usher in the utopia. You have ideas that are so good and so profound that it's okay to go out and coerce people into accepting them. And if you need to kill a few people to get to that utopia, well, it'll be worth it because it's the utopia.
Yeah.
But if you have, and this goes back to God later, I think one very useful conceptualization of the word God in natural language is a word for that which is beyond words.
Yeah.
So if you take God seriously just in that respect, not even getting theological about it, maybe that is theological, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But you'll have this reverence and appreciation and humility that there is no set of propositions that can finalize a utopia in reality.
Yeah.
Right? That we need this ongoing process of truth discovery.
Yeah.
The third quote that I often come back to is Musashi, "The way is in training." We can unpack that one more later, but I think that's got a lot of meanings.
What was it again?
The way is in training.
Yeah. Okay.
And so if reality is fundamentally vibrational, right? Energy, frequency, and vibration, we're all vibrational systems. There's this concept in physics called entrainment. Yeah. When you put two systems near each other, they start to harmonize, right? You put two women together in the same space long enough, they'll start their menstrual cycle will synchronize. Husband and wife start to look like each other over time, talk like each other over time. People start to look like their pets. Yeah. There's Rene Girard's whole thesis of mimetic desire, that all human interaction is fundamentally imitative, and we're constantly imitating one another. Yeah. Our personalities become like an amalgam of all the imitative relationships we've had over time. Yeah. Not one for one, but like the people that we look up to or we find awe-inspiring. Yeah. And so, everything's energetic, it's vibrational, and words are still strange here. Like I would like to reduce words and say, oh, they're just maps for the territory of reality, but words too are vibrational in their own way. Yeah. The meaning of words is not as objective as we often think it is, right? There's the speaking is as much a language as is the interpretation. Yeah. Right. And so the conversation's always this dance between two parties. Yeah. And maybe that's what contributes to the entrainment of our minds in a conversation. It's like we're vibrating on a certain frequency. Yeah. We're using the open source technology of English to try and get on the same wavelength. Yeah. And then we can engage in distributed cognition and solve bigger problems than we ever possibly could in isolation. Yeah. Right. So that's natural language helps us do that, but also mathematics helps us do that, but also money helps us do that. So it's like we become one coherent whole when these things work well. Right. And, I guess that gets back to the logos in a way. I don't know exactly. One of the more primitive definitions I've heard of the logos is that it just translates as word or ratio.
Yeah, so many different ways of translating it.
Yeah, but obviously the ratio, which I think is very essential, in mathematics we have, the ratio, numerator and denominator.
And proportionalities in there, right? Yes. With ratio,
and all
proper proportion,
all the sacred geometry, sine, cosine, these are like the ratio basically of one side of a triangle to another side of a triangle. All the mathematical constants, right? Pi, it's basically the relationship of the circumference and the diameter, right? It's 22 over. All these things are ratios, basically. All of mathematics is constructed in ratios. Yep. Similarly, natural language is constructed in metaphor, basically. But instead of numerator and denominator, we have target domains and source domains. Yeah. And this is not just the construction of phrases. Yeah. Time is money.
So you mean target meaning where it's headed? Like, so I would be the source. I say the metaphor and you're the target.
So I'll give you an example.
Is that how you mean?
And this is my thinking here is inspired originally by the book Metaphors We Live By. Yep. And there's been a lot of thinking about metaphors beyond that. And I read a few of those books, but the word understand is what I like to go to. Understand, to stand under something, right? Yeah. The word itself is a metaphor. Yeah. When you understand something, you get closer to its substance, right? Standing beneath. Right. Sub is beneath, stance is to stand. Yeah. So taking the physically embodied experience of standing beneath something to get a deeper perspective on it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the source domain.
Yeah.
That's the embodied human action experiential domain that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
And so that becomes the source domain. And the target domain is the meaning of the word understand, which means like conceptual comprehension, right? Like you get the idea, you get the point, or what, you know, get the point, even point, obviously is metaphor, get metaphor. So all of natural language, I think, let's say all, let's just say the vast majority seems to be constructed in these ratios of meaning we call metaphor. And so that's interesting to me. Like it has a logos-like quality, right? If logos is word or ratio, it's like metaphor or ratio. And then money too. We mentioned pricing signals earlier. Prices are just barter ratios, right? Instead of telling you how many tables a bottle of water costs, I tell you the table costs $400 and the bottle of water costs $4. Yeah. Right? You get a common language of numeracy, basically. Yeah. And it decomplexifies trade, economic planning, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So these things, it's like we get a lot of data through our senses, and then we need to compress that data a lot to be able to share it with other people. Yeah. And then engage in collaborative projects at scale. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at on the what is money journey, is like, it is one of these technologies as important as natural language, as important as mathematics. Yeah. And again, if natural language is subjective, mathematics is objective, I think money is transjective. Right? It's kind of in between.
It seems to lend itself to the between specifically. Yeah. There's something about this that,
because it's neither subjective nor objective, by the way. Yeah. It's based on demand. Yeah. But there's also supply, right? There's an objective supply, and it's somewhere in between. Yeah. A lot of people like to say money is a belief system. Yeah. Which implies that it's purely subjective and we could just make bananas money. Yeah. But that's not the case, because there are objective properties that make some monies better than others. Yeah. And there's a reason we choose things like gold to be money and not bananas. Yeah. So it's neither subjective nor objective, but it's somewhere in between.
And then it's also like, it also has a lot to do with basically naming worth.
Denomination.
Worth.
The word nominate, like to denominate is to name something. Yeah. When we talk about denominating things.
And to name something, doesn't name what something is worth, worthiness.
It is an appraisal. The technical terminology from Austrian economics is that money doesn't measure value, because value is subjective.
I have to read, clearly I have to read the Australian economics.
Austrian. Yeah. If you read the Australians, you might end up surfing.
Okay, guys.
No, I highly encourage people. Yeah. You could just start with, honestly, Saftein's book, The Bitcoin Standard. Yeah. It doesn't even mention Bitcoin until like the last third of the book, last quarter, but he gives a really good intro to Austrian economics and money before he introduces Bitcoin. Okay, cool. And that was my entry point.